games like last weekend when Rutgers football had a historic class for them when they had 9 guys commit in the same weekend and eventually signed a 10th guy on Monday. It warms the cockles of my heart when we load up on offensive tackles. Doesn't matter if you are in the NFL or you're a Power 5 team or a Group of 5 team. We saw with the Giants and Jets what happens when your offensive line is historically bad. Giants with 80 or 82 sacks, second most ever. You're going to have an incompetent offense and your quarterback play is going to suffer. We get a commitment from 6'3", 282, GERRICK Gordon out of Florida. He had a commit list, a 3-star recruit, had a commit list, though, of 21 schools, and they would include Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Miami, Louisville. And what I love about the way that Coach Yano and the coaching staff are building their roster is not just about, well, one thing that I like, as we are now in competition with other schools, other Power 5 schools, name brand schools, that in the past we wouldn't really beat out. There might be a guy that we like that has a slew of Group of 5 offers and maybe 1 or 2 schools on the list that we have to compete with. But we're regularly beating name brand top 50, 60 programs for highly rated recruits like GERRICK. Some might have, and I know Rutgers Rivals guys believe that, maybe he's a little undersized and he might not be able to play on the outside or be a left tackle. That's okay. I have total confidence in Pat Flaherty to be able to turn a 3-star guy and make him into a really productive tackle, whether on the inside. It's okay. We like those inside guys too. We need guys that are tough, dominate the space, and are road graders. But most of these guys are 17, 18 years old. So if you're 6'3", 282 now, you put on an inch and you put on 20, 30 pounds, you're talking 6'4", 310, 312, 315 in that range. Certainly you can play left tackle. And I have total confidence in the coaching staff to turn him into, to turn GERRICK into a starting tackle. But if you look at overall of our 2025 recruiting class for the offensive line, once again, Coach Shiano going about it the right way and going after guys that are Big Ten guys. The other 3, in addition to GERRICK, out of Bergen Catholic, 6'5", 295. He's going to grow some. Jaden Elijah, 6'7", 300 out of Mattawan. He'll have some room to grow too. And recently committed Nakai Witt out of Michigan, 6'5", 270. These are big boys that probably won't be getting rotated into the lineup for a year or so. They put on 20, 30 pounds, another inch. We're going to have a legitimate offensive line. I think it was Minnesota a couple years ago where they had a top 15 offense in Power 5. And they could run the ball as well as they can throw it, which hopefully is the case this year with Kalakamanis. But if you have a wall to protect you, it certainly makes your ability to play call and not always have to pretend or to protect the quarterback and be overly reliant on the running game because your offensive line is a little shaky. We saw this past year that our offensive line went from being probably our worst unit a couple years ago. They made huge strides last year, and kudos to Pat Flaherty, because there were times throughout the season where Rutgers' offensive line was one of the top ranked in the nation, not giving up a lot of sacks. They might have been number 2 in that category at one point. So I love that we're going, as Ray Lucas says, the big fatties up front. That is going to make us a much better program long term. And, once we get our quarterback situation straightened out, hopefully Kalakamanis is able to step right in, take over Kirk Chiraka's offense, and be able to run it through. We have some balance. Maybe we throw for 2,500 yards. We run for almost 2,000 yards. We have over 4,000 yards of offense. We could actually finish drives, score touchdowns. And having an offensive line, a big offensive line, a Big Ten offensive line, that certainly will help. Couple of things to finish up with Rutgers. A Walk to Believe coming up with September. And Eric LeGrand, I think it's September 6th maybe. Support his whiskey, $5.20 from each case of whiskey. You can see it's in my collection, goes to the Dana and Christopher Reeve Foundation for Spinal Research, so that's a good cause, Walk to Believe. And a good job by the Rutgers football team for participating in the Jersey Special Olympics. That's a really good job by them. Let's get to the Giants. Big news today. Kind of saw this coming. Darren Waller retires. Kind of figured out that it wasn't going to work out for him here for whatever reason. It was kind of a weird signing. Expecting a lot from him. Last summer in camp, he tore it up, and he absolutely looked like he was going to be the Giants' #1 receiver. Injury prone, we knew that. We gave up a 3rd-round pick. He did wind up with 52 catches and 500 yards. I think he had 1 touchdown. His time would come to an end. He got injured, and this, I don't understand how this happens, but he got injured during a walkthrough last season. If you're getting hurt during a walkthrough, it's probably not a good sign that you're going to be able to stay on the field. Nonetheless, good luck to him. Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State, looks like he's going to be our guy up for the future. He's had a pretty good OTA from all accounts. 6'6", 259, ran a 4.59 at the combine. I think he was number 2 tight end in the combine for almost everything, whether it's high jump, broad jump, 40 time. He's a physical beast. He'll be able to catch it and block some. Him and Bellinger probably will be battling for reps as they both can kind of catch it and block a little. And man, Hurtsville will be the blocking tight end. Does give us $12 million in salary cap. So maybe we can, sign some depth to the offensive line. Well, we'll see what happens there. But the Giants wide receiver room is another one that is showing some promise in OTAs. And quite frankly, this could be the surprise group coming up this season. And yes, a big part of that is going to be Malik Neighbors. He apparently is just what everybody thought he was. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't believe that. It drove me nuts during mock draft season how many people wanted the Giants to draft a quarterback. Even if they had a stick and pick at number 6, there wasn't a guy there that would have been someone who could step in right away and take over the reins for the Giants to play quarterback. I always wanted either Joe Alt or Malik Neighbors. He is absolutely, without a doubt, for anybody who's watched college football, he's a second coming of OBJ. In fact, this week, one of the NFL coaches said he has the same playmaking ability as OBJ. It's plain as day. He has that same acceleration, that shiftiness, that ability to turn on a dime, that ability, flat out speed. He's really good at the catch point. He can beat you underneath. He can beat you deep. The catches, those ridiculous one-hand catchers or sideline catchers or end zone catches that OBJ used to make, Malik Neighbors is doing the same thing, and apparently is doing that in camp. So the Giants wide receiver room absolutely will be led by Malik Neighbors, which will change the offense. And apparently Daniel Jones is looking pretty good in camp. But the other good news out of camp is another injured guy who apparently is playing well, and that's Bryce Ford Wheaton. Remember last year, during the summer, people fell in love with him. He had a spectacular catch in the end zone. But the thing that I'm liking about this Giants receiving core is their flat-out speed. They're not all just little guys. Malik Neighbors, 6'1", 188, 4.35, 40. Jalen Hyatt, who's also looked good in OTAs. 6 foot, 6'1", 4.31, 40. Bryce Ford Wheaton, Bigger guy, 6'3", 221, 4'3", 40. Wandale, smaller guy, 5'8", 185, 4'4", 40. So your slowest starting receiver runs a 4'4", and let's say it right now. Wandale is not a gadget guy. Anybody who watched college football a little bit knew that he had 109 catches senior year at Kentucky. When you have 109 catches, you're not a gadget guy. You're a productive guy. You're a go-to guy. And they'll be able to use him underneath as Jalen Hyatt, hopefully Bryce Ford Wheaton, and Malik Neighbors are attracting attention downfield. This potentially, as long as the offensive line holds up, just be average. They might even be able to get away with below average. Just don't be historically bad. And this Giants offense has a real possibility, not just on paper, to light things up this summer, preseason, and heading into the season. So things are looking up at a Giants camp. And that's about it for this weekend. No big news. I'm sure there'll be some things to talk about with Rutgers recruiting, whether basketball or football coming up. Everybody enjoy. Have a great week, and we will see you the next time.